So let's come together. Circular economies. We have Dominican Republic, Bitcoin Dominicana, Bitcoin Life Panama, Berlin, Bitcoin Berlin. Yes, Bitcoin Haiti. We have educators Santa Ana, I see here. Costa Rica, everyone. So,
should we just talk about maybe first challenges
let's get into it. We're all, I guess, at certain different stages of building in circular economies. A big part of it is education. Before you start with education, maybe where did you get started? What's the first thing you need to do to start building?
Well, the first thing you gotta do is decide to do it. Not doing it and doing it is the same. So you need to take the first step and possibly figure out who your strategic alliances are going to be for this. Then after that, possibly those same people are going to be teaching other people exactly what you taught them first.
For me, in Panama, that's what I'm doing, something fresh, new. I started in August. And first is understand the circle, like understand who's in Panama right now, what they're doing. There's a lot of like crypto guys. So, they say, we start with Bitcoin and then they move down to crypto. There's people that run exchanges, OTC. There is like a small community that interact. But for me now is just to talk to those people, told them about, hey, let's start a circular economy. Let's do what other people are doing in El Salvador, Dominicana, Colombia, like in every other country, and let's bring down to Panama. Education, I think, is second, but first, like, understand who's the people in front of you, and also come in those kind of like conference, going around countries and meeting people. So understand a little bit who you would work with.
Yeah, I agree with just do it. There's even here in the Bitcoin country where we should have 100 circular economies. There's people thinking twice, 3 times if either I start or not, is it a good idea or not. And I think we have a beautiful community, the Bitcoin community that will support you in different ways as long as you do the right job. And that's what you need to do. First thing you need to do is just take the decision. Just do it.
I believe education is the foundation, and then after that you start talking to the shop owners and just building trust, and then just giving them examples of like why this works, why you should do this, why you should save a portion of your profits in Bitcoin, and just start locally. And yeah.
So I do remember from Yes Bitcoin Haiti that you had quite some struggles to, like, you start teaching people. Like we all agree, do it. Step number 1. Number 2, education. Step number 3, we start injecting sats into the economy, right? And then once that happens, you either need to spend as a merchant again because you're stuck with sats, or I think in the case of Haiti, like there's not even an off ramp, right? Like
no, yeah. So what we have, Val runs a shop, and we have the students use their Bitcoin, spend their Bitcoin on whatever the food that Val sells, and that way they're able to redeem the sats. But with the shopkeepers, they want some legitimacy, and so that's really one thing that we're struggling with right now. They want legitimacy, and they just want to know how we can use off-ramp their Bitcoin into fiat for them to pay bills and whatnot.
How do you guys look at that? Like, you want to inject Bitcoin, but eventually not everyone is orange-pilled right away and lives on the Bitcoin standard. So, like, accepting is one. After education, they start to accept, but then, like, we don't close the circle right away. How do you deal with that in Berlin and in your example?
Well, I would like to add something about how to get people started on the Bitcoin education. Before I answer the question, I think that communities are only as good as the people who integrate them. So it's very important also to know what you're going to invest your time in, because you invest sats in products, services, and this kind of stuff. But I think at the beginning, in order to get going, you also need to know the kind of people you're going to be investing your time into, because these are also going to be the people that are going to make sure this moves forward, because it's not only about you being able to accept Bitcoin, being able to use Bitcoin to pay for products or services. We also have to look at the other side. This is an opportunity to create new business ventures in order to make this happen, because you just can't receive BTC and expect everyday life to become conveniently Bitcoin only. So there's a whole process behind that also. And can you ask me the question again, please?
My question was, how do you deal with this situation where not every merchant is spending their sats right away? Maybe they're looking for an off-ramp in the beginning. How do you really make it circular and not only like you injecting all the time?
I think that's one of the best questions you could ask. One of the main things we run into is people that you tell them, hey, do you want to accept Bitcoin in your business? And they don't think about anything else. The first thing that comes out of their mouth, like, it's splattered. How do I make it into cash? So I think that this is something you have to learn how to get around after that, because it's like a barrier. Like, they're not seeing beyond let me turn into cash right away. And it's like, better, you have to think about what your objectives are, and it's part of the challenge, convincing them that there's something else after just accepting the Bitcoin. This is more than that, and that's where the education part comes in. Because everyone in our case is like, how do I turn into cash? That's all they care about. And I think that's like the end of the rope right there. Once you only think about how to get rid of your Bitcoin, you're leaving behind absolutely everything else. Like, everything else, you're giving up at the beginning of the race. I understand it's important to, for example, if you play soccer, you need to know where the soccer post is to score a goal, but I don't think the end game with Bitcoin is turning it into fiat. So I think one of our biggest challenges is the mental factor people have, especially in these third world countries, that they barely have stuff to eat. They're more than anything thinking on a day-to-day basis. But hey, each sat counts. So this is like finding those people that possibly have like a little bit of, I wouldn't want to call it a brain cell, but possibly like a little light in their head that says, hey, there's an opportunity here. Because come on, it's not that difficult to keep 20, 30 sats at a time from each dollar, you know. So this is the kind of things we go through there.
So the way that I'm doing in Panama, I honestly going on YouTube and follow you, like most of you guys, try to understand a little bit what they do in each community, and I find like, no, it's not one strategy, it's a little bit of everything. So when somebody will ask me something like that, I'm going to be like, look, it's not going to be like tomorrow you're going to receive every customer paying Bitcoin, and then, you know, of course you're going to have like more Bitcoin and liquidity. You might going to receive one or two, and it depends what's your ratio, what's your goal. You can either keep it, and I can explain that, you know, Bitcoin appreciated like, you know, 20, 30% a year. So, you know, if you have a $20, $30, like, I mean, as long as you don't need it, but, you know, if you want to change it, then we can offer you like, you know, I come here and I buy you back your Bitcoin. But also I'm like, it's kind of like you attracting new customer. So it's not like the same person now tomorrow is going to spend you in Bitcoin and no more in fiat. You're attracting like new customer that for the fun of spending Bitcoin, now they're going to, you know, give you extra income. All those kind of things makes people think, it's like, okay, you know, you're right, let me think about it, let me try it. The first conversation is always the hardest to make people believe. Try to do some video in Panama, so the shops, they already accept Bitcoin. I'm going there completely free. It's like, hey, I'm going to make a video about you. I'm going to do an interview. I'm going to, you know, figure out who you are. Like, you know, let's let the people know what you're doing. And again, it's a little bit of strategy of everybody here in this community doing something, put it together, and make it work.
So how to make it circular and stop people from wanting to exchange it for cash? I remember we read the Bitcoin Beach white paper. The bubbles, yeah. And Mike mentioned something about that. He says you stop fighting it, you know. You just make it available. Otherwise, the first thing people do when they receive Bitcoin is how do I exchange it? Because there's no way for me to exchange it. And the rush that I have when I have Bitcoin is to exchange it. If I have some Bitcoin in my wallet and I'm traveling to San Salvador, I know that I need to make a stop to the ATM there in San Salvador to exchange it, you know. The moment you make it available, you tell people if you want to exchange it for cash, here it is, they stop thinking about it and they don't rush to exchange it for cash, and they can hold it for a little bit and eventually starts making sense of but then it comes with more adoption, you know, because if I have Bitcoin and you want me to spend it within the community, give me places where I can spend it, right? So you need that network built, which is the difficult part. But if you tell the merchants, or you know, if you start building the network where, don't worry guys, let's build the network. If you ever need to cash out, here it is available. That helps to grow the network, and people stop thinking about it or stop having that feeling of rush of having to exchange it. And once you have the network, it will start making sense for them to, if I have this Bitcoin that works as money, why do I have to make that extra step of having to exchange it and then pay with cash when I can directly pay with Bitcoin, you know? It doesn't make sense for me to make that extra step. But yeah, it's kind of difficult for people to understand what Bitcoin is and how important it is. Uh-huh.
I agree. Building network is important because the merchants have to get their things from distributors, and you know they have to either sell their Bitcoin for that profit to get the whatever they need from the distributors. It's difficult to build the network, but if they have it, they have the option.
Like the circles are not like circular, like they are like very long, and then it will come back eventually. But it's not that you can trace down exactly like circle is closed, we're done, right? We had a question here, and after that I have some questions for you as well.
So one of the projects I'm working on is creating an accounting system for those who want to keep track of their Bitcoin as currency and not as an asset. And I'm curious, I think a lot of circular economies are the place to start. And what I'm really interested in is how are your participants keeping track of their Bitcoin as, like, they might use QuickBooks if they were just using fiat, right?
Right.
So what do they do when they receive Bitcoin, want to hold it and then spend it, and they're trying to keep track of a P&L and a balance sheet and all those things?
That's an interesting one, and I think that we're still figuring it out. We saw my first Bitcoin doing this, like having your accounting on Sats. And we started to do that, and obviously, as you start to do it, there's a lot of questions that comes, you know. And we got in a few calls with my first Bitcoin team to share ideas how we do it. And it's kind of difficult, and the reason is because everything else around the world is priced in dollars. Doesn't make sense for you to price your thing or your accounting in Sats when you're buying this and that, paying salaries, getting this service and this other. And everything is priced in dollars, so you just stick to it. I mean, at least that's what we're doing. Like, sometimes we hire a service, and the next month is more or less sats than the month before. It doesn't make sense accounting-wise, as long as it makes sense within the team. At least that's what we're doing it. But that's a good one. I mean, we're still trying to figure it out. Probably, you know, within a few years after fighting and struggling how to keep accounting, we'll have a better answer.
Well,
or an assistant that help. Yeah, exactly.
I am gonna talk to you about our experiences with, for example, companies that import things, right? Because I do understand the accountability point of view, but sometimes people just need to pay for stuff. So, for example, in the case of us in the Dominican Republic, we had a client the other day. He was in Japan buying used car parts. And for him to get the money through bank transfers, it was impossible because the dude just wanted to buy these used car parts and go back to my country and fill up the stock in his business, which is completely normal. So some of the things we've been seeing is that traditional commerce wants to purchase this Bitcoin in order to get something done out of the way. So what we see is that there's always like a margin that they're willing to put on top of the price in order to fight volatility. But afterwards, they're just seeing the residual Bitcoin in their wallets, and they're putting it on the books just for the amount of USD it is. They don't actually have any tools that permits them to connect, for example, the amount of money they're going to need to hire a service, buy a product, and leverage that with the Bitcoin they have. So right now, for example, in our case, for what I just said, people are doing kind of on a gut feeling. More than anything, they're kind of stressed out. I'm saying like, God damn, I just want to purchase this, and I don't want to go through the whole bank process. It's expensive and everything. So that's why I said that at the beginning, with the community and people who integrate them, it's important to know who's going to be integrated, because there's opportunities within these things. Because, for example, this shop sells used car parts. He's on BTC Maps. He'll accept your sats for something. But if we don't provide him with additional information about things that possibly are available for them to make their life easier and more normal, because regular businesses, they need accounting work. Not only if it's internal, but also they need to figure out how they're going to put it on the books. If they want to cheat the taxes, I don't know. I'm just saying. But they need to put this in a certain way that it goes through the cracks and makes their business go through. So I see this kind of thing as an opportunity, and possibly these circular economies are testing grounds precisely for this kind of stuff, because it don't matter if it's $10 in sats or $100,000 in sats. You need the use cases to polish those tools, because that's going to help you do the research and then the development to follow up, because a lot of these questions we're asking today, you don't really have so many use cases to know how it's going to work down the road. But also providing those tools to people is going to make other people be like, well, but I can do this. Because, dude, people are afraid of the books. Like, when it comes to accounting and all this stuff, people are afraid. So you see a lot of people get into panic mode when the taxes come and all this stuff. They don't know what they're putting in the business, getting out of the business. At least, I mean, in the case for us, I work mostly with informal businesses. I've been trying to not, work with companies that are constituted too much. They have many departments, bureaucracies, because there's a lot of questions and very little answers to how it is that we're gonna provide the proper tools, because this isn't an Excel sheet.
Anyone else something to add about accounting?
I don't know. You mentioned that you're working on something. What's your insight there? How will you do that?
That's probably a longer conversation. I'm going to talk about it a little bit tomorrow at Adopting Bitcoin, if you're going to be there. But what I'd like to do is talk with you after, and we're willing to give the software away to people, but we think we've solved the problem that we understand.
Okay.
But until we try it and we get some informal businesses that are willing to try it out, I think we don't learn. But the goal is to get to the formal businesses, because they're the ones who are resistant to adopting Bitcoin, because they don't have a structure like an accounting system that they can put it in and treat it like a currency. So that's the problem we're ultimately trying to solve. But in the meantime, we got to practice on the small ones. And you guys are creating these little circular economies that we're learning a lot about for how we do that in a more global way. So I'd love to connect with you and work on that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you see what's going on in US with Square and all those. So how they're doing? I don't know if you can answer that.
In fact, we're really excited about Square, because we think what we're doing will be the next problem that comes up that they want to solve. But basically what's happening is they're treating Bitcoin, as you said, like an asset, and they just put it on their balance sheet in their whatever their fiat currency is. So even when you look at what Square's doing, you can receive Bitcoin and immediately convert it into dollars automatically. You can keep a portion of it. You can actually convert from fiat into Bitcoin. But in every case, that wallet that was holding the Bitcoin they're actually just treating that as if it was like a stock or some bond or something they bought that's an asset, and they're just valuing it at the end of the period. They'll look at what the current value is in fiat, and then they'll make an adjustment on their books. So they're not really treating it as currency. And this is why I went to solve the problem, because I have mining businesses and other businesses that are Bitcoin based, and I could not find a solution anywhere. So I built a version for myself first. It's very rudimentary, but from that learnings, we've now built another version that we're ready to release, but we need to put it in the hands of people besides myself and learn. But really the answer is they're just treating it as an asset. And really, even the accounting systems that are out there, all they're doing is capital gains and tax reporting. They're not really doing bookkeeping. You can't print a P&L. You can't see your balance sheet. You can't do a cash flow statement, all the things that a business normally does.
Awesome, thanks. In addition to that, I think we are on a journey here. Like step 1, get started. Step 2, do education. Step 3, close the circle. Step 4, fix the accounting. But then step 5, how do you make sure that people stay in your circular economy? They could drop out because of lack of off-ramps, because of scared for accounting. I was wondering, what do you face in your circular economies that cause people to leave your circular economy again? And how can we learn from that to keep the economy like a closed system?
Yeah, I think that's where the marketing aspect comes up. We've created a system called mystery shoppers, where we take people in our circular economy, and we send people from the community that go pay for stuff in Bitcoin. Sometimes we have to subsidize some of the stuff they go buy, but having these mystery shoppers have permitted us to kind of scare these merchants a little bit, because first they have to be prepared for when somebody comes, because it's very easy to say, yeah, come to my business, pay me in Bitcoin, I keep it, I do whatever. But having these follow-up programs has permitted us to first help them with their continuous education, because there's no second opportunity to have a first good impression. And in our case, we're working on Bitcoin tourism, so we want to send people to these places, because something that Bitcoiners have is that they are big fans. It's like, for example, a lot of kids who go to Amsterdam. They don't go to Amsterdam to eat chocolate mousse and to go to the Van Gogh Museum. They go to Amsterdam to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's the same thing with Bitcoiners. When Bitcoiners go to places, they want to pull out their wallets and they want to pay with it. But it's not nice when the people go and pay and all of a sudden the merchant doesn't know what to do about it. So for us, in order to keep the circular economy going, particularly with the merchants, the whole follow-up process is key. And not even informing them when this is going to happen, because in business, you don't know what client is going to walk through your door, whether it's a recurring client or if he's a first-timer. So I really think that creating these strategies for follow-ups helps the merchants and also keeps the circular economy alive. So sometimes if you receive sats, it's important to relocate them in this fashion. Sometimes you just simply give them away, but also hiring people to do this kind of work with the sats is a good initiative.
I don't know if this really answered your question, but I have 2 cases in Panama where basically right now the Bitcoin or any crypto in Panama, there is no law. It's either illegal or legal. It's just like gray, nothing. So there's a lot of people that says, okay, what happened when a law passed? Like, now you make me accept Bitcoin, and then maybe tomorrow somebody's going to come and say it's illegal. Like, what is going to happen to me before or after? Or what happened if the bank, because there is one bank in Panama that is against any crypto, and one of the person was like, I would like to accept Bitcoin, but I'm scared that the bank is going to find out and then freeze my account. So that's my take on what scares the people, what can close the circle, not us, but the people above.
So in Berlin, we changed the strategy at the beginning. We were like, let's get as much merchants as we can, we hit 50, let's hit 100 and then 150, and then we realized that it was a lot of work to keep maintenance to the business. And that's when we say we might not need the 500 businesses we wanted at the beginning. We just need to keep maintenance to these that are already accepting Bitcoin. And at least us, we don't have a easy answer or a magic recipe to tell you these people will never stop accepting Bitcoin again, you know. We have some merchants, we have some people in Berlin that we know for sure that they will never stop accepting Bitcoin because they already reached that point, right? But that comes after a lot of education, maintenance, visits, talks, and, you know, slowly trying to explain to them what Bitcoin is and why it's good for their business and them to accept it. So we want more of those Berliners to get to that point. But we don't actually worry about anymore for having the 10 pupusa places in Berlin accepting Bitcoin. We already have 2. Let's the other 8, you know. If they want, they come look forward to us. Now we're going to focus on this. They're going to look for us, but now we're going to focus on these 2. And it's the same with the gas stations, with the lady selling milk, with the tienda, souvenir stores, and every other business that we do. We actually take as a responsibility for them to keep accepting Bitcoin. We give education every week in the Bitcoin Center. We're always available through WhatsApp. We're always, open to give them information or whatever they need so they feel comfortable on accepting Bitcoin, never start accepting it. But we reached that point where we're a certain amount of people in the team. We cannot cover the whole 500 merchants we would like to. Let's just focus on these 150 we have and try them to not stop accepting Bitcoin. Eva?
Usually when merchants in Haiti stop accepting Bitcoin is when it's because there's not enough people coming in to pay with Bitcoin. And in the countryside, there's not really sats coming in. The only way we're getting sats is through donations, and we're through workshops. We're giving it to students and stuff like that. I believe like a solution would be like the remittances, especially in Haiti. There's $3.8 billion in remittances and just like coming in. So if people were in the U.S. or were able to send sats or even stable coins to Haiti, they can, with the education that they could know to convert their stable coins to Bitcoin or just and like spend their sats in merchant shops. So I believe remittances is a very important engine into circular economies.
Right, it's not only the number of merchants, like you say, but it's also like the amount of sats that really flow in the economy to make it successful.
Yeah, I can only imagine, like here in El Salvador, we have these events, we have Bitcoiners, we have the eyes of the world coming, and people coming to spend Bitcoin. It's a little bit easier for us to have Bitcoin flowing around the economy. Even in Berlin, it's kind of hard sometimes. We need coffee and some other stuff at the office, the Bitcoin office there in Berlin. And I was telling, if we're going to get 5 bags of coffee, let's try to get 1 bag from this store and another bag from this one, so everyone can get sats and the maintenance of, people keep using Bitcoin. But yeah, I can only imagine. Trying to do it outside El Salvador, that's another level of difficulty.
Yeah, without remittances, you're the one putting the sats in the economy. And
yeah, that's another
where do you
level.
get the sats from? Like, you need this capital as well.
Like, you can get tourism and get Bitcoin injected through tourism. You can got remittances. You can got Bitcoin paid jobs. I mean, there's different ways how you can get Bitcoin flowing in the economy. But it's easier just to name them, then you got to do them, right?
Right. I think we're like really entangling this complicated circle right now with a lot of challenges that may arise and reasons why people may stop accepting Bitcoin. Do we have more questions from the audience maybe? Otherwise I'll just continuing being the host. No. So what... Maybe I already asked it, but like, given everything we discussed right now, the first answer of this panel was like, get started. But before you get started, you need to know what you're doing. And you're telling me it's like, get as many as possible. But at some point, there's going to be also a strategy in which stores you want to onboard. So maybe to sum everything up, like, if you want to start your circular economy, is there one best way? Or is it like you're saying, there are a million different ways, and pick a little bit about everything. Do we have some kind of a conclusion here, or
there's. Sorry, go ahead.
I still think education is the foundation, and from there it just branches on. So, yeah.
I have a little way that could work, especially if you're a guy. Start with your barber shop, number one. Number two, go to the place you get your beers, where you go walk your dog and possibly sit down. Get them to accept a little bit of Bitcoin for that beer. And then afterwards, find possibly like a little hotel that rents out rooms for not very expensive. And then all of a sudden, you have a place where you could tell people who have Bitcoin, hey, get your hair cut over here, go grab a beer over there. And these kind of businesses is very easy to communicate with the people. For example, in the barbershops, you're sitting down for 30 minutes. You talk about your love life, you talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So it's very easy to squeeze in the Bitcoin topic there. And with the little places that sell the beer and the stuff, start small. Start with some bottles of water or whatever it is. But time will be the best advertising, because time keeps passing, and when you least expect it, the Bitcoin goes up, and they're seeing it in their wallets and everything, and you don't have to explain the benefits. Bitcoin takes care of that by themselves. Afterwards, you hook them up on the BTC map, and make sure you got some friends on Twitter that want to visit you, and start doing it through there. Prepare the merchants for these kind of people also. If you have the opportunity to give them some signage, give it to them. Keep training them, because there's no better advertising than change. So for example, if I would be very overweight and you see me some months back and you're like, this dude looks horrible, he's not pretty. But then you see me now and I look all beautiful and stuff, and you're thinking, wow, this guy looks great now. And I didn't do anything. I changed. So there's no better advertising than change. So one of the benefits you offer to these commerce is simply advertise they accept Bitcoin. And they're going to get positive outcomes from people who are going to be like, wow, so you are getting up to date, you are technological savvy, whatever it is. So it's a win-win situation regardless. But I think for community leaders, it's important to know how to keep helping these people out, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be rotting away in the past of things that don't work, when you have the opportunity to use Bitcoin not only as a form of money, but also as a way for you to advertise that you are looking into the future, you're fresh, and people like them.
question? Here, I'll get you the mic.
Thank you. I have one comment and one question that could be two questions. Each one or any one of you can reply. The number one is, for us in paystand.org, it's important to measure results, data, numbers, impact, outcomes. How are you guys doing that? How are you guys tracking for results? And the number two question is, if we are 5 years from now, what is happening in Bitcoin Berlin and in each one of your circular economies? What is the dream of you guys? Short answers.
Okay.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good questions. If you, how do we measure success? Well, you can measure it by the amount of merchants accepting Bitcoin, but then BTC Map is full of merchants accepting Bitcoin. Are they all using Bitcoin? Then if you want to track the amount of transactions you do through Bitcoin, that's kind of against the whole Bitcoin, you know, because you don't want to track the transactions. What we did in Berlin was to run a encuesta survey. We run a survey. We have run a couple of surveys, and one of them was about, you know, how many Bitcoin transactions you do a week and this and that. So we have some data about that transaction, because we cannot keep track of every transaction, right? How will Berlin look like in 5 years? We expect to slowly replace the use of the US dollar in Berlin and getting closer to that. People is using the dollar because it's our currency for different things. We want to replace that for Bitcoin, so a little bit closer to that goal. Yeah.
For us, our merchant data is not really there yet, but we measure on like graduation rates, people, the students' grade level, the grades, the tests. And in the we will be, once we get more merchants on, we will be gathering the data. In 5 years, I agree. We see Haiti just like replacing the fiat with Bitcoin, and that's really the ultimate goal: to separate the state from currency, the money from state. We see 5 years to orange pill Haiti.
Well, in the case of the Dominican Republic, we are not doing real surveys with the merchants, but it's more of them. They call us and they're like, oh, this guy came in, bought this much. They send us the screenshots. So at the beginning, that was like non-existent, but every month it's a little bit more due to the fact that we've established a circular economy in the colonial zone where cruise ship come and this and that. So more than anything, it's the merchants themselves that kind of want to get rid of the Bitcoin, but we just pretend like we don't listen to them and we just let them stay with them. And then we see ourselves in 5 years basically creating a new money system, starting with store of value, because we've thrown some analysis with the bank fees over there and people, they're literally getting robbed. The Dominican peso has gone down 86% in like the last 20 years. So we're very close for it to be, completely devaluated. So we want to introduce Bitcoin, number one, as a way for Dominicans to receive new income, because we are a country that runs on services. We're an island. Like, if we don't get things from abroad, we can't fabricate everything we want. So we have to rely on a lot of support from other countries. So we want to help professionals be able to understand Bitcoin better in order for them to accept those payments and bring it back to the island. And then after that, seeing how we could create certain kind of infrastructure where we could onboard the merchants with this so they could feel even better. Because it's great to have a Bitcoin Lightning wallet and have an on-chain wallet, but how do you put that on a computer screen with the cashier? How do you keep your numbers proper? How do you have your inventory there without the necessity of the person that has the wallet being there? So we think that in 5 years we want to simply be able to have the proper tools. So massive adoption kind of steps out of the counterculture underground, even though it's not that. But I think that Bitcoin is working there, like punk rock in the 70s in the Dominican Republic. So it's just a matter of time for that shit to break out and people to do their own thing with it. We just need the right tools, and in 5 years we think we're gonna learn enough to be able to do that, and also to be able to push the government a little bit harder regarding all the tools we're doing now, for them to actually realize the world movement that has to be listened to in order for us, because right now we have all the odds they're against us. But I think Bitcoin will help us walk amongst these giants, being a small country. And that's in 5 years.
So what we currently I'm doing Panama is, of course, onboarding like as much merchant as I can, put them on BTC map, and also create like a WhatsApp group for the merchant, for people that come to Panama and wants to be in the Bitcoin world. We actually have two groups, one for Bitcoin Maxi or only, another one for crypto. Because then you see the people in crypto just posting a lot of random stuff, and we try to avoid that. The way that I see this, that you can kind of like see a little bit what's going on in Panama, will be to create its own like Lightning wallet to be able to kind of like put it to kind of the same way that they do like a Bitcoin jungle. So you can see like all the transaction that kind of come from Panama. You can see all here, all the merchant. So all the merchant in Panama, they kind of have the same wallet, so they don't not get confused, but in a way that, because right now, I mean, like I'm onboarding people with wallet of Satoshi, Blink, like, you can choose any wallet you want, as long you can accept it and I teach you. So that's basically what we are doing. What I see Panama in the next 5 years, the way that I see it, like Panama, but the rest of Latin America, very competitive with each other. Panama got potential with the canal. They are really pushing through tourism right now. So that's another speech that I'm giving to when I'm boarding merchant is like, you're going to receive even more tourists. And that's how I see it.
Thank you. I know you don't ask me the question, but I hear two answers that I would just want to comment on. The first from you about graduations. I've noticed also in my first Bitcoin Node network that everyone who goes through the Bitcoin diploma really is orange-pilled to a certain level that you can count on them as being like a reliable merchant, if they are merchants, of course, as a student. And also what you're saying about Bitcoin Jungle app. I'm from the Netherlands. There is Bitkassa. It was the oldest circular Bitcoin economy in the world since 2013. They also created their own software, which they used way before Blink. And they track their own statistics of the use cases. And I know that's difficult for everyone to do in every circular economy, but there are solutions as well, maybe further down the line, such as what Bitcoin Jungle is doing with the community custody, I think the Galoy stack. But yeah, that's not like the starting point to start tracking your impact right away, but maybe that is the way to go, where every community has their own wallet. And we also decentralize the way we use not only Wallet of Satoshi and Blink, even though they're great, but also like use it more like on the community level with what people need. And it can be on like a lot of different levels. Do we have more questions? Thank you, by the way. That was great. Anyone else? You have something to add to some closing words, maybe?
So, the second oldest self-sufficient government in the Western Hemisphere is Haiti. In 1804, Haiti gained its independence, broke the slave trade. We're system breakers. Haitians need Bitcoin. Haitians will be orange-pilled.
Yeah, and you guys should know, like, we work with Yes Bitcoin Haiti a lot, and they have different struggles than a lot of other circular economies to get started in the first place. So I have a lot of respect for you guys with, well, even the first steps before you can start onboarding with the team locally and with you also in the US. So thank you, guys. I think we're going to wrap up this panel. Thank you very much, Pedro, Alessio, Gerardo, and Di Giovanni. For joining me. Actually, I joined you because I came.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your stories about circular economies.